Hello, welcome to Property Question Time. I'm Stephen Galpin, and this is a show where you can have your property-related questions answered by our team of experts. And joining me today is Dave Forde, Chartered Construction Manager and Consultant. Welcome, Dave.
Hello.
Good to have you back. And John Howard, developer, mentor, author, investor, and heaven knows what else.
Thank you very much. Heaven knows.
Heaven knows.
At least I've got God on my side by the sound of things, so that's good. Welcome.
Yeah, good to have you back,
Thank
John.
you.
Always welcome here. John, as someone who is about to start their first development project, what do the panel advise as to the most important factors in assessing the project's viability? Now, you've only got 5 minutes.
Goodness me, goodness me. Well, I always start at the end and work back.
Okay.
So you need to, first of all, you need to know the square footage or square meterage. Once you've got that, you can work the rest out. So what is the GDV and what's it worth when it's finished? Once you know that, then you can work out on the square footage, and Dave will be expert on this one, how much it will cost to build, and then you can, from that, you can work out what you can afford to pay. So work it backwards, basically. That's the first thing. Be sensible. Don't listen to every agent that tells you it's worth 20% more than you think, because they're probably flying a kite, as we call it, in the most polite way I can put it. Go to 3 agents and take an average of the 3.
Okay. I mean, I think there's one important factor there that you
Have I missed one?
Yeah, I think
Right,
so.
what's that?
Well, I think it's this, that and London developers are always guilty of this.
Please, we're not talking about London again, are we?
But don't forget the sales rate, because the sales rate in London will be 3 or 4 or 5 times what it is perhaps in the States. Well, and time is money.
Well, can I just say to you that some of the bigger house builders in the UK, they expect to sell about, on a normal market, about 3 houses a week on their sites, and they've got all the marketing material, they've got the amount of money they spend doing that, sales office, and they sell 3 a week. That's all they expect to sell. At the moment, they're selling 1.5 a week. So just bear that in mind. It's not the first property that you sell that you shout about and get champagne out. It's the last one, because the last one gives you your profit. You're on to the next deal. So look at the last one. And if you think it's going to take a year, estimate it over 18 months. Because you know what? How many times, apart from Dave, do you come in on time and on budget? Very rarely.
Very rarely.
Very rarely.
But I can remember here, I mean, the biggest nervousness when you do a block of flats is selling the first one, because once you've sold that first one,
it gives you some confidence.
But you're also in for the service charge on the rest of them.
Exactly. Well, that's the whole thing. That's the starting pistol, isn't it?
It is really. Yeah, definitely. And it's a brave man that pulls the trigger, isn't it?
Well, we did 150 quite recently, and you're absolutely right. It's to sell 150 flats of or houses of anything. It's a big deal.
It is a big job. Why is it, Dave, that builders are so notoriously behind on their builder time estimates?
Yes, why is it?
Well, what are the governing factors? Is it materials?
They'll say it's weather. That old chestnut.
Look, there's just so many things that I couldn't go into. Look, it comes down to poor planning, lack of competence, over optimism, taking on too much work. Clients have got a big part to play in this.
Oh yeah, it'd be our fault, wouldn't it?
Because clients got to make sure they've got the right people working for them. You can't blame everything on
all
builders.
You guys do is get the claims book out and start.
Yeah, start adding. Oh no, we haven't got that on the list. We haven't got that. Can I just say 2 or 3 more things that might help? 1, when they get there, stop sitting in the car reading a paper till 8 o'clock in the morning, but get out of the car and get on with it.
Yeah.
2, don't have so many coffee and break and tea stops. And 3, don't go off for breakfast. And 4, don't go driving around trying to find materials half the day. That would make a difference, wouldn't it, Stephen?
Well, I suppose it would.
Yeah, well,
I'm talking about the smaller sites, to be fair, not the ones you do. But
Dave, I've listened to one of your talks on I think it was on YouTube, and you're quite scathing about some of the smaller constructors and builders.
Good.
Yeah.
And I have the same thing with estate agents. If you can stand up and breathe, you can be an estate agent.
It's a bit harsh. I've got 6 estate agents officers. Thank you. That's rather rude.
Well, there you are. But it's the same thing in construction, isn't it, Dave? There's no formal entry into that market, is there?
Look, there is a very low bar to entry, right? Anyone watching this today can wake up in the morning and think, do you know what, I'm going to be a builder. You go out, you get yourself a second-hand van, set of ladders, some tools, a drill. You get a pay-as-you-go SIM card, right? Then you put an ad in the newsagent window, all building work undertaken, no job too small. And you're out there.
Don't tell them how to do it totally.
Dave,
but look.
Steve's just writing this down.
Yeah.
People got to remember this. Skilled labour is not cheap.
No.
And cheap labour is not skilled, right?
Ah.
And when you take on a property project, you ain't putting a fiver or a score into it. You're putting hundreds of thousands of pounds. It's not a thing for amateurs. You can't blame the builder if you don't know what you're doing yourself.
True.
And that's just that. And it's notorious for firms going under, people getting knocked for money. It's a ruthless, brutal industry, the construction industry. It's not for amateurs to take it lightly. You've got to know what you're doing.
Well, also, if you're a subcontractor, you're very sort of open to big developers taking advantage of you, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you're not contractually secure,
Yeah.
You can really come unstuck, with being owed money or whatever else.
I think you make a really good point there. If we can just talk about the commercial aspect, people have to understand that when taking on a builder or an individual tradesman, there's a big difference between this person or company being unethical and being commercially astute. And then there's another massive difference between being commercially astute and commercially aggressive. Now, there's nothing wrong with being commercially aggressive at all, but if as a client you've never encountered that, you're not going to know what's hit you. We're sitting in Canary Wharf here. I've worked here for years. It's ruthless. They're operating on between 1% and 2% margins.
Oh, can I stop you there, Dave? I've never heard so much rubbish about this 1% and 2%. That doesn't take account. I'm sorry, but it's my pet thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't take account of all the what do you call it?
Prelims.
Prelims, the famous prelims before you start the job. £1 million, 1.5 million for loos and a few cars and a few officers and health and safety. I mean, no one in their right mind, Dave, would do a job and make 1% and 2%. I'm sorry, John,
no, they do, and I'll tell you why. Because their business model is to knock the subby and to get them to work for nothing, right? And a lot of these blokes think I ain't going to stick around in this environment, and they go into the domestic market and they're coming up against the amateur developer, and they got this ruthless mindset, and that's where it all goes wrong. I know how these people work it. Don't forget, the jobs are in the hundreds of millions. Like 1-2% of that ain't bad. Then when you can knock all your workforce as well, now you're getting up to a decent profit margin.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. They're not going to do it for less than 10%.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dave, your question is almost a bit of an...
I thought that was his question.
No,
we ganged up on him.
Your next question, shall we say?
Sorry, Dave.
It is almost an extension of that. What is the best way a small developer like myself can monitor the quality of contractor work and ensure that the issues are corrected without extra cost to me?
Okay, so the very best thing is going to be a contract that protects you, right? Because in there, if we talk about JCT contracts, that's because they're the most commonly known. There are things in there about quality, standard of workmanship. You don't want to be in the position where you're on the job with a builder or 10 builders and you're going, this is no good, I ain't paying for it. You don't want to be in that position. No. You want to be able to refer to the contractor. And if you don't have the experience yourself, really, you want to employ a professional. Now, people should never see employing professionals as an additional cost.
Absolutely.
What it is, it's bringing in additional value.
Yep.
Because you could watch me. I started off as a spark. Now, you could stand there and watch me all day rewiring your house. Do you know if I've done every connection properly? Do you know? If you watch me test, do you know?
Well, it's you, Dave, so you would have done.
So as someone who doesn't have experience, you can't just say, well, I'm just going to stand there and watch them. But you don't know what you're looking at. Do yourself a favour, until you get the experience and knowledge yourself, just pay the professionals. If there's not enough money in it to pay a professional and to get someone to do your contract,
it's not worth doing, is it?
You've got to think, is this project...
Dave, you are absolutely spot on. If we're doing 2 flats to convert 2 flats, or we're doing 150 flats, we have all the professionals, even for 2 flats. I have a building surveyor who oversees the project, sorts out the schedule of works, goes out to tender for me. And I agree with you completely, Dave, that whatever you spend on your consultant and your professionals, even on a small job with a building surveyor only, you more than save that money. And the people who say, I'm going to project manage it myself, my God, I've never project managed a deal ever. And I've done over 4,000. So that tells everyone what they ought to do. And I agree entirely with you, Dave, and I'm passionate about it because so many people get into trouble. Well, it's crazy.
John, these people who go, you know, I'm a member of the Association for Project Management. I had to, they didn't just give it to me, I had to go through a process to be assessed before my peers. These people who go, I'm going to project manage it myself. First thing I say is, great, you got any insurance, eh? What for? Well, project man, say you call on a delivery and it kills a little kid, right? But where was your insurance as a project manager? Or you're going to get someone off of Facebook who's going to project manage it for you. Some amateur don't know what they're doing. Like, what's going on? This is a business. You ain't painting your spare bedroom. This is a business for people who know what they're doing.
Dave, you're absolutely right. And the public liability insurance, we spend our premium, I know because it's just come up, our premium is about 88,000 this year we've paid, and that's to cover all my companies. I'm not doing the building work, but that's in case the contractor that does hasn't got enough insurance, or the old trick is, you know, they have the insurance, they show you the insurance when they start the job, but they can't afford to renew it. So in that case, any problems and any death or anything like that on site, any problems will come back on me. That's why I've got that insurance. It's so important.
You're right,
so
John.
Important.
It's so easy, isn't it, to say it ain't going to happen to me, but it does.
It does, absolutely. And the more deals you do, the more you're likely to have a problem. And you're absolutely right, Dave. I couldn't agree more with you. And I don't always agree with anybody in construction, to be honest with you.
All right. Okay, well, that's all we've got time for in this half of the show. So join me again after the break when we'll be asking John and Dave more of your questions. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Property Question Time with Dave Forde and John Howard. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
John.
Yes.
When a developer sells a new build property, in terms of warranties, what is the developer's responsibility and what is the responsibility of the NHBC or similar warranty?
Well, it's very misleading, okay? Because you'd have thought a 10-year warranty is a 10-year warranty, wouldn't you?
You would.
But that depends from when it starts. And what you find is, if you use, you know, a decent construction company, they will give you a year's warranty on the work. Most of these warranty, in terms of the 10-year warranty, doesn't start for 2 years, which is an absolute con in my view. So there is a year where you are exposed as the developer before the 10 years starts, if you like. So really, you've got a year where your contractor will come back and do the work if there's a problem. There's a year where you're responsible, and then there's the 10 years starts. Because that way, they all know that any teething problems, as Dave will tell you, happens in the first 2 years. So it's a complete joke, really. Having said that, and I will hold my hand up, and I'm impressed with the warranty companies, is that with this cladding issue, a lot of them have put the hand up and come back and have accepted claims, which is impressive because they are big claims.
Yes.
So, you know.
Okay. But I mean, isn't it rather difficult for the layman or just the simple purchaser to work out exactly what is covered and what isn't covered? I mean, I look at some of these warranty handbooks, you know, and they're that thick.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and nobody's going to read them, are
do
they?
you remember years ago when damp-proof companies would give you a 30-year guarantee? Dave will remember those. We're not all the same age. You're younger, David, than us, probably a bit. But it was a famous 30-year guarantee that meant absolutely nothing. Every building society in those days, weren't they? Terrace houses, obsessed. Have you got your damp? Now they don't ask for them. At the time, have you got? Oh, we haven't got a 25-year guarantee. We can't lend you the money. Absolutely ridiculous. To be fair, these warranties are much better than that. These 10-year warranties, construction warranties, are much better than that. They're backed by massive companies. But you're right. I would say if they're little teething problems, and Dave is probably better to answer this than me, but if it's the tap's not working, the cooker's not working properly, there's a whatever, all those little things, the door's jams, they're not anything to do with 10-year warranties. No. They're to do with the builder coming back. Contractor don't like being called builders. Over a certain level, they like being called contractors, and they get the hump if you call them builders, as far as I'm aware. So they'll come back and do that in the first year. If that problem happens in the second year, the developer has to pay for that. And going forward, good luck, because you won't get the warranty to cover those.
You're going to get, I mean, probably should address this to you, Dave. I think you're going to get most of the teething troubles out of the way in that first 2 years, aren't you?
You would hope so, yeah.
Very, very rarely do you hear it going on sort of year after year if there's a problem, either cracking of plaster or, as John says, taps overrunning. Or
I mean, the warranty is there for, if there's a problem, structural problem, problem with the windows perhaps not fitting properly, the roof, that type of thing, isn't it? Or subsidence.
Do we still have that nonsense where if you change the windows, you've got to show who fitted them and how they were fitted and all that?
Not only that, you've got to register the fencer certificate with the local authority.
Right.
These days. If you haven't got a fencer certificate, you're in trouble when you come to sell it.
And what's the purpose of that,
Dave?
It's just
professional.
It's just to show that they have been fitted by people who actually know what they're doing and the product complies with what the building regulations.
Is that a fire issue?
Fire is one of them, that they open properly so you can escape. That will get, actually, as we move more towards the reduction of the carbon emissions, and that will become more prominent, because councils and that they won't want single glazed windows. It'll be all double and triple glazed, etc. So there'll be another level of certification, another money making thing coming, if you want to put it like that.
Yeah.
And who decides this? Is this a sort of building regs officer in the local authority or
government?
It all starts with the government.
Right. Okay. My favourite subject, and yours too, John.
It's my subject too as well, I suppose.
It is indeed. Okay, Dave. As someone who is about to commence a moderately sized refurbishment project, have the experts any advice for me on the selection, appointment, and subsequent control of contractors?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would advise anyone carrying out any kind of project to go for a proper tender process, and that starts with a pre-qualification questionnaire. So you'll find you half a dozen building companies. I'd suggest you look on Federation of Master Builders, Chartered Institute of Building, or recommendations or whatever. You send them an email. Dear sir, I've got this project, very rough outline details with a pre-qualification questionnaire. And that gives them a chance to look at it and go, yeah, I might be interested, or I'm not. So they'll self-select. So straight away, you're getting rid of ones that are not the right ones. And what a PQQ is, it asks not about their standard of work, but their organisation. Like, how skilled are they? How many jobs have they got planned or going on? Because you don't want a contractor who's overtrading. No. What's their policy on health and safety? What's their training record? So now you're getting the good contractors back. Then you'll look at them. This one can go, this one can go. I'm left with 3 or 4. Now you can send them full details of your project. And the whole reason for that is people must understand, and this is crucial, you never buy on price. You never take the cheapest builder, right? You take the best builder. You buy on quality. That's what you want, because if you pay cheap, you pay twice, you know. And Once you've gone through this process, you'll have a panel of builders who you like, then they can tender competitively for it, and that's when you would take the lowest price. That's the recommended way to do it.
Okay. Now, let me just ask you, as a consultant and a construction manager, would that be a sort of brief you would take on? Would you take on that sort of selection process?
I would take that on, or a QS would take that on, or
building surveyor.
I'm just thinking from the way the question is worded, it's a fairly new person doing a refurbishment or whatever.
Again, we've spoken previously about the value of bringing in a professional. Now, if you're going to bring someone in, paying, I don't know, 400 quid or something to do that, to potentially save you 20, 30 grand with the wrong contractor.
But also, I've noticed in the past with this sort of thing, your good constructors, your good builders will actually rule themselves out if it's not a suitable job for them, won't they?
Yes.
You know, and that's not no sort of detriment to you or your project. It's just that it's not for them.
Exactly.
And that's what you don't
It's
want.
horses for courses,
Yeah,
isn't
exactly.
it?
Yeah.
The one thing that's so important though is the schedule of works.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the building surveyor or someone like yourself doing a full schedule of works, you know, which really is just essential to go with the plans, then you can't expect a sensible price back. All you'll get is a budget price. Never go on a budget price, you know.
Well, John, I even personally, I always send bills of quantities that I've prepared at my own expense, because I know builders read drawings slightly differently.
Yeah.
You know, one might read it a little bit less, one might add on a bit more. Yeah. So I'm comparing apples with apples. I've taken all that hard work out from.
Absolutely.
It's linear meters of skirting board, it's square meters of paint on the wall, and you know, you don't want to be guessing. You don't want round figures coming back.
No.
And just add a bit on just in case. You know,
you need to do the job properly.
Now, once you've got your builder and they're on site and one thing and another, how do you control what they're doing? If you see something you don't like, what's the approach?
Right. Well, I would say once you've got a competent contractor on site, leave him to do his work. Don't be following him around all the time, right? But you should be having regular scheduled interface meetings. I would say every week. Maybe it's every Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Yep. So we start off with a site walk, then we we sit down, we talk about the issues, if there are any, and what's happening in the next week. And if you do find anything, bring it up at the time. Now, there's a difference between defective work and unfinished work. So you got to be a little bit careful. You don't want to say to the builder, "Oh, what's this going on? I see cables hanging here." And he turns around and goes, "Yeah, because I ain't finished." You know. But again, if you're not that experienced, I'm always going to say, get a professional involved.
Absolutely.
Who knows what they're looking at?
You know, a building surveyor will protect you. You know, they'll do the schedule of work for you. They'll go out to tender for you. They'll advise you on who to pick. They'll then oversee the whole project for you. You don't want the contractor coming to you with things. You just say, look, here's my building surveyor, speak to them. You know, it's so important, isn't it?
That's a brilliant point John makes there. When you employ a professional, it takes the personal thing out of it, right? Because if your representative tells you not to pay this amount because it's not finished, the builder comes to you and he says, "Look, what's happening? I've been paid this gun. I'm sorry, I don't do that." Speak to my representative.
And there's so many people get too involved and too, you know, and want to butt in. And if you've got someone, let them get on and do it.
Yeah, it just seems to me that extra few £1,000 is money well spent, isn't
Stephen, it? It's not. It's so well spent. It's unbelievable. Honestly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there we are. That's all we've got time for. So a big thank you to John Howard and Dave Forde. Thank you both very much, gentlemen. I'm Stephen Galpin. I look forward to seeing you next time on Property Question Time.